All right. Welcome back, everyone. My name, of course, is DM Rhino, and today I'm just going to show you how to create a Artificer from the legacy content in D&D Beyond. For those that don't know, I make D&D content. If you like my video, hit like and subscribe. Of course, ring the bell. And today we're just going to look at creating a legacy content, right? Legacy character. Why do we want to create a legacy character? Because not all the adventure books are updated for the newer books, and some people do like playing still 5e legacy content. And the new Artificer book is going to come out at the end of this year. So when that comes out, I'll create a character for the new Artificer, but you can only currently play an Artificer with the legacy content. So let's create a Artificer with our legacy content. Okay, so we're going to click over here, create character. Very simple. Standard, which is great, right? And then we're going to call him, let's call him ART1 or 2, R2, and let's make him that there. Now, the important thing is to click off Homebrew, core rules this time. We want expanded 2020-14, 2020-14, and legacy. Actually, we don't want that expanded rule. We want these expanded. So the bottom 3 ones over here are important. No partnered content. That's fine. Milestone is fine. Everything else is fine because this is all up to your DM, what you decide. We're not going to do incumbents, and we're going to make him public. Let's go to our class. Now we go all the way down. You can see 2014 expanded rules, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and Xanthar's Guide to Everything. But the Artificer is in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. It's the class, right? So we click on that. We can see intelligence, constitution, and intelligence. So artificers are intelligent and have high constitution and intelligence. Let's add that one. We boost him up to level 3 because most adventures start at level 3. We give him our proficiency. Well, artificers use thieves tools, tinkerers tools, a lot of artisan tools. But we also want him to have investigation, makes sense. Perception, again, makes sense. And a tool, let's give him alchemist supplies for now. We've got magical tinkering, we've got spellcasting, and then we get our infused items. Now, there is a whole list of infused items at level 2, but remember, at level 2, you can only create 2 infused items. Only 2. I should say at level 3, not at level 2, but you only get 2 infusement slots at level 3. They do grow as you get at a higher level, but for now it's only 2, right? And we got to look at the Artificer infusements. That basically means you get to take a non-magical item and infuse it or alter it or change it to something. And we can see they're all level 2 now. You get options here, right? But you're only allowed, when we look at our character sheet, to have 2 slots, but we get 4 options here for us to choose from. So we can have a bit of playing around. We can take one infusement out and put it into another infusement. It's the power of the Artificer. The first thing we're going to look at is we're going to get enhanced defense. That gives us a +1 armor class to while wearing weapon or wielding a shield. Really good. Then we're going to go to the Mind Sharpener, which gives us a automatic success with 1 charge on concentration spells if we fail. Then we want to get our little homunculus servant, which is really good to have a little guy in the battlefield moving around or just helping you out. He's a servant, right? He doesn't require much magic, and he doesn't require, I think you need like a black gemstone, which isn't very expensive to create homunculus. And of course, then we're going to get enhanced weapon. We can also get enhanced arcane focus. This one is just your spells, spell attacks. The other is just your weapon, right? If we look here, your weapon attacks. So one is more focused on spells, one is more focused on weapons. So let's just get the weapon one here because we want this Artificer to be a bit more weapony than throwing spells around. And then we get our speciality or our subclass as an artificer. Well, there's a couple of them that we can see. Basically, what it breaks down to is alchemist grows a lot of potions and elixirs, also drinks them. Armorer you're basically Iron Man. You get gauntlets, lightning launchers, and if I remember correctly, you do get to have more than 3 attunement slots. Artillerists, you get a little Eldritch Cannon that helps you out in the battlefield. And Battlesmith, you get a Mastiff or a Steel Defender. Now, which one would I recommend for a newer player? I have my personal favorite, which is basically the Artillerists. But honestly, when you're playing as an Artificer, you can pick any one of these. They're not too complicated. I'll say probably the most complicated one is probably the Armorer, because you've got to if we have a look here at the Armorer, we get to do another kind of subclass within our subclass. We get to be either the Guardian or the Infiltrator. Basically, the Guardian is Iron Man with his Thunder Gauntlets and defensive field, whereas the Infiltrator is more like you're a ninja, you get stealth and everything like that. So that's the main difference there. So this one's probably the most, in the weeds, more detailed kind of artificer. Whereas if we go to our artillerist, it's quite simple because all we get is an Eldritch Cannon, and we get to pick which one we want. We either get the Flamethrower, the Forced Ballista, or the Protector. When the Eldritch Cannon gets destroyed, we get to make after an hour. We can dismiss it, but we can create one depending on what we choose. We can choose different types of Eldritch Cannons to create. So that's really good. We get one of them, but when it's destroyed, we get to create another different type or the same type. And these are very useful in battle because at level 3, they have an AC of 18 with immunes to poison and psychic. So it's very, very powerful. It's very hard to hit at level 3, and it can do a lot of damage, especially the Flamethrower in the lower levels. 2d8 fire damage. That's a lot in a 15-foot cone for a low level. That's a lot. It may not be a lot later levels, but when you're just starting out as an Artificer, this can really make or break a battle for us. So I would recommend the Eldritch Cannon or the Artillerist. So we've picked our class. Now we got to pick our background. Whoop, don't need to go there. Now you'll immediately notice that the 2014 Legacy does not give you a feat, but it just basically gives you more ability scores than feats, right? But what's a good background to pick? Well, of course, we could have guild or merchant. We could have folk hero. We could have knight. We could have noble. There's quite a few of them that we could get, right? But we always want something that increases our intelligence. So we pick acolyte here. We can see we don't really get an ability here on acolyte. Okay. Charlatan's more of a spy. False identity could work. What about a criminal? Again, criminal contacts, not bad for an artificer. I could see an artificer be one. Even a folk hero. We don't really get a lot of these things. We don't get abilities also when we look at this. So I'm gonna pick the one that most people would pick for an artificer would be a guild, merchant, or artisan. Makes sense for an artificer. And maybe we are going to get what other tools we're going to get. Maybe we'll get smithing tools, right? Makes sense. Yeah, artificer. And we get to pick another language. Let's give him Draconic. Right. Now, also in Legacy, you don't have to type up your personality traits. They give you tables. You can use these. You cannot. For example, if you want to use them, you just roll 2d8 like that. And we get a 7 and a 2. So he doesn't like to part with his money easily, and he's well known for his work. Again, two things that make sense for an artificer, right? But you can also type these out. You don't have to pick these. You can type these out if you want. but that's what they gave you in Legacy. Now we got to pick our species. Now we want that tab to be shown, right? Legacy content. And we want to go down here. You immediately see there's Legacy, 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 of course. There's a couple of other races down here, but we're just going to look at these ones over here. Now, if we're playing an Artificer for the first time, we want someone that gets Intelligence and Constitution. We could pick Human. I did pick Human for a lot of them for my how-tos, but for now, because we're going Legacy, we can pick something a bit more different. Let's pick a Gnome. See, and go break down. Rock Gnome, Forest Gnome. Well, I would pick the Rock Gnome. Why the Rock Gnome? Well, he's got Artificer's Lore, he's got Tinkerer, he's got Dark Vision, Gnome Cunning, of course. But then his intelligence is increased by 2, which is what we want. And he gets advantage on saves against intelligence, wisdom, charisma. Right? All good. And so his constitution is also by 1. Excellent things for our Artificer. So let's confirm that. Okay. We've got all these things here for our Artificer. Now we go to our abilities. Now I've done rolled, I've done points to buy, and I've done standard. So if I'm going to do an Artificer, let's say I'm playing a standard game, let's just pick standard array. Okay? And we immediately look and we go, okay, well, my intelligence is 2, my constitution's 1. I want to make them even, so I'm going to make my intelligence 14, right? This gives me an intelligence of 16 plus 3 on my modifier. I'm going to make my con 15 because that means, again, I get 16 and plus 3, which is really good, right? So there, I've got my 2 primary stats. My stats are the highest now out of them. Then Artificers don't really need Charisma, so we can give that an 8. I'm happy with giving him a 12 in Dexterity, maybe a Strength of 10, and maybe a Wisdom of 13, because I want these 3 over here to be my highest, right, with my Artificer. So that all makes sense there. There we go. They're all in our Artificer ability scores. Now, of course, we go to our equipment. And we go, okay, equipment. What's the equipment? Well, the equipment, we can see they either give us equipment or gold. They don't give us options anymore. They just say equipment or gold. We always want to pick equipment. It's much easier than sorting out gold. And we get to pick over here our simple weapon. Let's take a light crossbow for ranged and maybe a light hammer or a mace. Yeah, let's pick a mace. A mace is fine. Studded leather armor. That's fine. I don't want scale armor. And we get to pick another tool, of course. Let's pick, I don't know, brewer's supplies. Sound fun. Great. We add our starting equipment. There it is. So we can wield our mace and we can have a look at our wield our studded leather armor. All fantastic. Now, what's next? Well, it's our character sheet. That's what's next. Let's view our character sheet over here. And there we go, can see. Got the advantages on the save. We've got our health, our armor, and our initiative. All good. We are wielding all these things. And then we can see our Eldritch Cannon's health. This is our health, the hit points. See, they're all there. If we want to summon one, we have to go up, up, up. There we go. Eldritch Cannon. We just click that little slot. It summons them. And then you can summon one. Yeah, you have 1 Eldritch Cannon. This actually does increase as you get at a higher level of your Artificer. But for now, 1 is fine. Right? And then we go to, if we go all the way down here, infusement slots. And this is what I mean when you get 2 slots. We got to pick 4 different types of infusions, but we can only infuse 2 objects now at a time. And again, this increases as you get higher up in the game. But for now, 2 is fine for our level 3 Artificer, because what we're going to do, we're going to go to our inventory. We're going to go to that little tab there, Infusions, right? And then we can see the ones we want to pick. Which ones do we want to pick? Well, if we have a look, we've got enhanced defense, mind sharpener, and uh, homunculus and enhanced weapon. So let's just pick our enhanced defense first. Now it will pop up with this over here. Choose your item. We have to have the item on us. And we can actually choose studded leather armor. Create infusion. Boom. There we go. It's given us a +1 already. 14. This is good. Now, let's say we want to get a bit of we've got defense, got some good saves. I don't think we need that mind sharpener just yet, or the homunculus servant. Let's go to the enhanced weapon. Let's choose the weapon and let's say it's our mace. Boom, we get a mace over here. Go to our actions, ready, done a bit more, right? We've got now infusions over here. And we can actually see we have no attunements over here, right? We have nothing to attune to, but we can't create another infusement slot, right? If we wanted to create one, we've got no more ways to create it. We would have to override our infusion slot with, we can't do that yet. We're not that type of artificer, but we are the type that gets 2, and these 2 are great. Okay. So there we go. We are wielding the weapons. We've got everything we want. We've got our traits, but also artificers can cast spells. They are half casters, if I remember. So they can cast spells. And being a artificer legacy, we automatically get Shield, Thunderwave. Really good spells to have. But now let's have a look. What other spells could we prepare? Well, we've got 2 cantrips. Let's tick on our cantrips and let's just, we can just pick on both of these over here. But let's say we want to pick a nice cantrip for ourselves. Let's pick the good old fashioned Firebolt. Firebolt's a great 2-hit, 1d10 damage. Very cool, right? Yeah. But as an artificer also, maybe mending. Mending makes sense. We touch something, we can mend it. Yeah, for an artificer, repair small breaks and tears in chunks on armor. Very good. Could even argue or talk to your DM, could I mend my Eldritch Cannon because I see it's gone down on health? Could I mend it for a bit? That could be a great way of using the cantrip to mend it, right? Okay, so that was our cantrips. Now we get to pick our spells. Ooh, what kind of spells do we want to pick for our artificer? So a really good spell, of course, Grease. Great spell to pick, puts you prone, and especially with the combination of Firebolt. Most DMs will agree that Grease is flammable, so we can cast Grease. Right. Also really good. What else do we want? Well, let's take... Well, Thunderwave is prepared, so we don't have to take that. Let's take Catapult. Catapult is a very fun spell to pick. The reason I would pick it as an artificer, being someone that tinkers with a lot of things, you could catapult something towards something else. So choose one object weighing 1 to 5 pounds within range that isn't worn or being carried. The object then flies straight up 90 feet in the direction you choose before falling to the ground. It doesn't necessarily have to fall to the ground, but if it reaches to the target, it will. If it reaches that height, it will start falling. If it strikes a creature, it does a 3d8 bludgeoning damage. Why do we pick Catapult? Why? Well, if we go back over here, Eldritch Cannon. It's a tiny, you can create a tiny Eldritch Cannon. So you could argue that your Eldritch Cannon weighs 5 pounds and you want to catapult it. Why do we want to catapult it? Well, as we get bigger and bigger Eldritch Cannons, we can also make these Eldritch Cannons explode. If we look at our features, our abilities, where would it be? It's a 15-foot cone. It's immune to all conditions. There we go. Create an Eldritch Cannon. Yes. As we grow in our level as an artificer, the Eldritch Cannon gets to self-destruct, explode, which is really good. So we could do that, right? So that would be our next one there. The next thing we're going to pick over here for our spell is maybe false. No, a Featherfall. Featherfall is really great spell because you can pick up to 5 willing creatures that are falling and they start to descend slower. So that's a really good spell to have, Featherfall. But now we've got a couple of utilitarian ability spells, not a good damage spell. Let's get a good damage spell over here also. What kind of good damage spell could we get? I would recommend Tasha's Caustic Brew. It's our only concentration spell, but it does do a lot of nice things, right? It's a stream of acid, which makes sense for an artificer who's building things in a 30-foot line. It goes, and each creature must make a dex saving throw of 13. We can see it up there, or they will take acid damage. So it kind of keeps in the theme with our artificer, right? So these would be the spells I would pick over here and over here, right? And remember, we also get the reaction of Shield and Featherfall are both reaction spells, which is good. Bonus action, Eldritch Cannon, Flamethrower can do, we summon it as a bonus action and then it can attack as our bonus action afterwards, which is really good. And then we've got our Mace and all of these other ones over here. So these are really good to pick. Now, if you are playing an Artificer for the first time, I always recommend creating your Eldritch Cannon, during the day, like before battle. You can create it in the morning when you walk up and it can just come along with you. It says at level 3, you can create it. You end up creating it once a day. Of course, it's a magical object. Regardless of its size, it has an AC of 18 equal to your, and its hit points is 5 times your Artificer level. So there we go. It does get higher and higher and higher, and it regains 2 hit points. It disappears if reduced to 0 hit points or after 1 hour. So you can, after an hour, create it again, or say, I'm going to constantly create this every hour, right? It's okay. It does have a limit of 1 use over here, long rest. So maybe every 8 hours you can create a new Eldritch Cannon, or if you are going into battle, I would create it in before battle, before you know that the battle. So that's always a fun thing. And then you can determine how it looks, how it feels, everything like that. Yeah, so it is quite good to have this. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I would recommend if you're playing an Artificer for the first time. They're really fun to play. I've played a lot of them in the past, and they're tinkerers. They're like, they use science more than magic, which is fun. But once again, if you've liked this video, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and I will be making more how-tos, and we're going to be looking at how-tos with legacy characters next. And I'll be picking different races and different ways of doing it for those who still want to play the traditional 5e but don't know where to start, right? But until next time, have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.